Hi, this is John Harcher. Welcome to episode 17 of Left Turn at Albuquerque. And we're up to the next of the Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Series, Volume 4. Took a little while for it to get to us compared to the last three, but it's here, and it's got some choice tunes on it. So let's get right to it.
I knew I should have made a left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I knew I should have taken that left turn at Albuquerque. I should have turned left at Albuquerque.
Let me get the annoying part out of the way right now. If you like what you're seeing, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below. We're halfway to 500 subscribers. Let's see if we can get there by this time next year. Okay, on to the review. Looney Tunes Collector's Choice Volume 4 came out on November 26, 2024, and has 27 cartoons. All of them are new to Blue, but some have been previously released on DVD. The oldest is from 1937, and the newest is from 1964. Also, Thad K already has his review up, so I cribbed some tidbits from it. It's linked up below, so thanks always to him. Okay, let's get into them. First is Along Came Daffy, released on June 4th, 1947, directed by Friz Freleng. You'll hear this name a lot on this disc, and written by Michael Maltese and Ted Pierce. At a snowed-in cabin, what looks like Yosemite Sam and his twin brother with black hair are out of food when salesman Daffy shows up and practically ends up on the menu. It's very similar to Daffy's Southern Exposure, which we did on Collector's Choice Volume 2. Even though it's never directly stated, this has sort of become accepted as a Yosemite Sam appearance, and the black-haired one has been given the name Orville, not to be confused with Tweety's original name of Orson. The part where they look at each other as food is kind of disturbing, to be honest. This is a TBS tune for me. I don't remember it in New York or Philly for that matter. Restoration on this is beautiful. You don't even mind the scratches in the back. It only adds to the atmosphere. Next is A Bone for a Bone, which came out on April 7th, 1951. Again directed by Freleng and written by Ben Hardaway during his brief return to Warner's. In fact, this is his last with them. A dog tries to bury a bone right in the gopher's hole, but the duo keep sending it back to him. This is the first of 4 tunes by Friz with the Goofy Gophers. I don't think I ever saw this until the Cartoon Network days and really wasn't shown all that much. Very clean restoration, not a lot of cell debris. The Cagey Canary was released on November 22nd, 1941. It was started by Tex Avery, but after his firing, it was finished by Bob Clampett. The story is credited to Maltese and Melvin Miller. Not sure if they wrote it together or one started it and the other took over after the change of directors. A cat and a bird match wits in an old lady's house. If this sounds somewhat familiar, it's pretty clear this ended up being a template for the Tweety, Sylvester, and Greta cartoons of the 50s and 60s. They're just missing a bulldog. Tex Avery actually sort of reworked this into his classic king-size canary. This is one of several shorts where the original opening titles are lost, but we have one still of them. Here it is. Now this one I definitely remember on TBS. A few bits of cell debris here and there, but again, very nice overall. The Fightin' Ones came out on April 22nd, 1961. It's another Freleng, this one written by Maltese, who was actually uncredited because he was over at Hanna-Barbera at the time. The cartoon takes its name from the 1958 Tony Curtis-Sidney Poitier film, The Defiant Ones, which has the two chained together and on the run. Only this time out, it's Sylvester and they say it's Hector, but it kind of look like him, but whatever. They're stuck together on the way to the pound when they end up getting bounced out of the truck. They spend the rest of the cartoon trying to get unshackled. This was a network cartoon. It was on quite a bit, actually. The later cartoons usually look pretty good right off the bat, and this one is no exception. Next is Dangerous Dan McFoo, released on July 15th, 1939, directed by Tex Avery and written by Rich Hogan. Based on the poem The Shooting of Dan McGrew, it's a raucous time in the Klondike as a new arrival makes his moves on Sue, Dangerous Dan's girl. This turns into an epic boxing match that ends with a shootout. And Tex actually used the "here we go again" joke here 2 years before the heckling Hare. This is the first Warner's cartoon to feature narrator extraordinaire Robert C. Bruce.
At the back of the house, in a solo game, was Dangerous Dan McFoo.
It's also the first for character actor Arthur Q. Bryan, and he came up with a very unique voice for Dan.
Hello,
everybody.
Obviously, within a year, he transferred that voice over to Elmer Fudd. Now, we don't have the original credits, but the blue ribbon is interesting in that it's the first to have a different font style writing for the title of the short. Hey, I thought it was interesting. But look at the cut and paste year again. Oy. I think this is on Channel 5, but it was definitely on TBS. It's a little on the duller side compared to the previous ones, but it's cleaned up nicely. Devil's Feud Cake came out on February 9, 1963, directed by Friz Freleng. The writing credit is a little odd. It's credited to Freleng and Warren Foster, who was over at Hanna-Barbera at the time. The credit is because this is a compilation tune, the final for Bugs Bunny in the classic era. They took footage from Hare Lift, but put re-recorded dialogue and new scoring underneath it.
Get it going, or I'll blow your carcass right out from under your hat.
We get new footage as Sam ends up in the unmentionable place and is given the chance to get back up here, provided he gets Bug Bunny to go down there. Then they repurposed footage from Roman Legion Hare and Sahara Hare. It's basically a redone version of the Tweety and Sylvester cartoon, Satan's Waitin', that actually first appeared as an episode of the Bugs Bunny Show in primetime. They dropped the parts that had to do with hair trimmed for this cartoon, but ended up reusing the entire show segment as part of the Looney Bugs Bunny movie. This is also the last non-problematic Bugs Bunny short that had yet to be released on digital home video. Jerry actually pointed it out on the recent episode of The Extras he and George appeared on. Now, as we discussed, the rest of the cartoons have issues. One other interesting thing, some of Bugs' redone dialogue is by Jerry Hausner.
Say, this is quite a hunk of aircraft. Look at that landing gear. Well, I think I'll take the 50-cent tour.
The TV episode version was in production right around the time of Mel's car accident, so he did a few of the redone lines. Considering its scattershot origins, the 50s material looks okay, the 60s ones look better. Double Chaser, released on June 27, 1942, had Friz and Maltese working together almost 20 years before the fighting ones. A cat is chasing a mouse, but the mouse then gets a bulldog to chase after the cat. Kind of a chaotic short with a pretty bleak ending. This hasn't been on home video since the Laserdisc era, but it's been on Max for quite a while. I don't remember seeing it when I was younger, but it's actually been on MeTV twice in like the past year. There's another one we just have the blue ribbon title for, but there is an original title card in existence over at the University of Wyoming, of all places. This one is pretty rough looking. They did the best they could, I suppose. Can't do too much with those bad cells. Plus, there's another funny cut and paste job on the year at the beginning. Double or Mutton came out on July 23rd, 1955, somebody's birthday a few decades later. Directed by Chuck Jones and also written by Michael Maltese. This is the third of their Wolf and Sheepdog cartoons, but the first officially with Ralph Wolf and Sam Sheepdog. Let's do the breakdown. The duo punch in, and as we can see, they are named. Ralph digs a hole to get to the sheep, but runs into Sam instead. Ralph uses a spear and rope to try to catch the sheep from above, but Sam's on the other end. Actually, both ends. Ralph uses a rocket and rope to send Sam away, but it turns out he's stuck in a tree. Ralph pretends to be Little Bo Peep, who lost her sheep, but when he gets one into the cave, it turns out to be Sam. Ralph tries using a helicopter, but Sam yanks it down. Ralph tries using a seesaw and a rock to get over Sam, but hits a tree. Ralph tries using a cannon, but Sam flips it back towards him. During a rainstorm, Ralph uses hair restore to make Sam's hair grow completely over his face. Yet Sam catches him right at quitting time. The two punch out and head home. To be honest, I don't remember seeing this one that much. It was probably on the network, but don't really remember it. The title card's a little dull, but the rest of the short looks good. Another Chuck Jones follows. Fox Pop was released on September 5th, 1942. This one written by Ted Pierce. A red fox thinks being a silver one makes him more valuable, but then realizes only his fur would be more valuable without him in it. He then tries to destroy the radio that talked him into doing it. This is another one-shot I don't ever remember seeing until the past year or so on MeTV. but it's been an internet favorite for inclusion on some release for quite a while. It was released as an extra on the DVD for King's Row, but that was unrestored. It's done now, and it looks terrific, very clean all around. Just a small amount of cell debris, which is pretty good for 1942. Henhouse Henery was released on July 2nd, 1949, directed by Robert McKimson and written by Warren Foster. Henery wants his chicken, but Foggy keeps sending him in different directions while pestering Barnyard Dog to no end. This is the first short where Foghorn sings this little number. This one has the inventive sequence where Foghorn cuts down a tree to make it into a baseball bat, only to have it used against him. Now, when this came out, it actually ran with the film version of The Fountainhead, and talk about an odd combination. For some reason, they didn't include it as an extra on that DVD. Would have made sense. There's some spotty frames in the barn, but for the most part, it's really clean. Also from 1949, Holiday for Drumsticks came out on January 22nd, directed by Art Davis and written by Lloyd Turner. Doesn't look like Bill Scott worked on this. A turkey is saved from becoming Thanksgiving dinner by Daffy, who proceeds to eat all his food. But who says you can't have duck on Thanksgiving? Just ask John Madden.
It's a deboned chicken stuffed in a deboned duck stuffed in a deboned turkey.
This is a rework of the earlier Porky and Daffy cartoon Tom, Turk, and Daffy. Tom Turk? Couldn't they just say the whole name? Now, I remember this from TBS, and it was added to the Boomerang rotation last year for Thanksgiving. This is the first of 3 newly restored cartoons for this set, and it looks very good, especially since it's one of the Cinecolor ones. I didn't realize it until I saw it on Thanksgiving morning on MeTV. The lone Roadrunner and Coyote on the disc is Hopalong Casualty, released on October 8, 1960, written and directed by Chuck Jones. Our duo starts charging right into the camera before the Roadrunner sends the Coyote up in the air with his and leaves him under a telephone pole. Coyote tries catching him around a corner, but it's a truck. Coyote tries pulling rock onto the Roadrunner, but it ends up on him. Coyote tries to put dynamite under the road, but the plunger goes off. Coyote tries to get the Roadrunner to fall into a Christmas present machine, but the Roadrunner comes up behind him and sends Wiley into it. Coyote tries using a fishing pole with dynamite, but it gets stuck in a cactus. Coyote tries using earthquake pills as birdseed, but nothing happens after the Roadrunner eats them. Coyote eats the rest of the bottle himself before realizing that it doesn't work on Roadrunners, but definitely does on coyotes. He manages to survive, then falls off a cliff. This was definitely a network one. Like the fighting ones, this one looked good to start with, so it just looks that much better. Hyde And Go Tweet is also from 1960, coming out a few months earlier on May 14th, though this would have been way better for that October date. Whatever. As usual, with Tweety and Sylvester, it was directed by Friz Freleng. This one was written by Michael Maltese. They actually worked quite a bit together in this era. Sylvester is in Dr. Jekyll's office when Tweety wanders in and ends up drinking the Mr. Hyde formula. Now, this is Friz's third take on the Jekyll-Hyde story, following Dr. Jekyll's Hyde in 1954, also with Sylvester, and Hyde and Hare with Bugs Bunny. The latter was on one of the Golden collections, but the former is still unreleased on digital home video, so it's on the list of future possibilities. That one really needs a restoration badly. The one they show on Boomerang is awful. Now, both of the Sylvesters were on the networks while the Bugs Bunny one was syndicated. Once again, by 1960, cell debris wasn't that much of an issue, though it is a bit worse than the previous 2 once they're in the doctor's office. The lone black and white cartoon on the disc, like Collector's Choice Volume 2, is a Daffy Duck short, The Impatient Patient, which came out September 5th, 1942, directed by Norm McCabe and written by Don Christensen. A perfect follow-up to the last cartoon, since it's Daffy's turn to get involved with Dr. Jekyll and his alter ego, Chloe?
Yeah, I'm Chloe.
Now, this was released to TV as a color cartoon, first in the 70s, when it was one of 78 black and whites that were recolored by a South Korean company who hand-colored every other frame, giving it a herky-jerky motion. It was later colorized by computer in the 90s, but this is the original that's been on HBO Max practically since the beginning, interrupted by the 2022 purge, of course. The black and white ones tend to take any digital noise reduction worse than the color ones. It doesn't appear to be too heavily used, but by nature these tend to be a little fuzzier than the color ones. Leghorn Swoggled was released on July 28, 1951, like the previous Foghorn short, directed by McKimson and written by Foster. Henery has to get something for everyone to find out how to catch Foghorn, but the loudmouth rooster practically does everything to ensure his own demise. Now, this is a syndicated one from way back. We'll go over what Foghorn and Henery shorts are left to be collected when we do his Superstars disc very soon. I say very soon. There's a nasty cell scratch in the middle of the screen on several segments, and the barn's kind of nasty inside. Otherwise, generally nice looking restoration. Meatless Flyday came out on January 29, 1944, again by Frizz and Maltese. Boy, they're almost like the Freleng-Foster combo from earlier episodes. A spider plots to get himself some dinner, but when he finally gets it, government regulations kick in, which is where the pun from the title comes from. This one was so rare, I don't think I even knew this existed until it showed up on Tune In With Me. Hollywood tough guy Cy Kendall does the voice of the spider. He sounds so much like Tex Avery that at one point, he actually thought he did it.
Dead pigeon. Dead pigeon.
Now this one doesn't quite pop as much as the other ones. Maybe it's just a duller looking print overall. It sounds a little on the muddy side too. Mouse Warring was released on September 8th, 1952, done by Jones and Maltese. He's the writer of choice on this volume. This one has a mouse family moving into a new house, a teenage mouse trying to meet the new daughter, and a sinister-looking clawed cat providing the obstacle. Now, this appeared on the Mouse Chronicles set on Disc 2 as one of the unrestored bonus shorts. It sort of acts as a transitional cartoon for Claude, how he moves on from Hubie and Bert over to the frisky pup in his last few cartoons. I don't remember seeing this until the Cartoon Network days. It's definitely cleaner and brighter than the Mouse Chronicles version. The Mouse-Merized Cat was released on October 19, 1946, directed by Robert McKimson and written by Warren Foster and George Hill. This is the third and final of the full-length cartoons with the duo. They do make a brief appearance as dogs in Hollywood Canine Canteen. Babbitt learns hypnotism and gets Costello to go and attack the cat without even realizing it. There's a funny sequence where Babbitt gets Costello to do impersonations, including the one that got the adult collector disclaimer. Poor Eddie Anderson.
Hello, Mr. Benny. I'm stuck up here in Harlem at my grandmother's house. Roll about, Granny. You're faded.
I definitely remember this one from TBS. The restoration on this is in the clean characters, rough backgrounds category. Muzzle Tough came out on April 18, 1953, directed by McKimson and written by Pierce. Daffy and girlfriend Melissa go to the beach, but he ends up being overshadowed by a muscle-bound duck. So he takes what he thinks is an energy drink that gives him enormous strength. Daffy was in 4 cartoons in 1953. Duck Amuck, Duck Dodgers, Duck Rabbit Duck, and this one. Too bad they couldn't find a way to work duck into the title of this one. Now, this was a syndication staple when I was younger. It was previously out as a DVD extra on the John Wayne comedy, yes, you heard right, Trouble Along the Way. Take a closer look at the cut and paste jobs on these opening credits. Oy, oy, oy. This one is actually on the rougher side of the 1953 shorts. They usually look better. Daffy just doesn't get any respect. Isn't that right, Rodney?
Got no respect at all. Are you kidding?
Muzzle Tough was released on June 26, 1954 by our favorite duo, Freleng and Foster. It takes its name from the Jewish way of saying congratulations or good luck. Granny moves into a new house and Sylvester has to find a way to get past Hector, who's gray this time, to get to Tweety. I'm surprised it took this long for it to get to digital. It was very popular in one of the networks and has just been restored for this set. It's the second one. Basically a nice job. Anthony just did an episode on this a couple of weeks back on his channel, so look that one up if you want more info about this one. Now on to the big one. Peck Up Your Troubles came out on October 20th, 1945, directed by Frizz Freleng and written by Michael Maltese. Surprise! In his second and this time silent appearance, Sylvester tries to catch a bird to eat, but not who you're thinking of. He and Tweety didn't team up 2 years later. This time it's a woodpecker modeled after an actual one, rather than that one from that other company.
Guess who?
This is another I'd never seen until MeTV about a year or so ago. but it had a terrible reputation in the markets where it was seen. It looked like it was kept with the Private Snafu cartoons and a keg of beer. Now it looks pristine, or as pristine as it's gonna get. It's kind of spotty in places, but it's way better than it was. It still has a blue ribbon title card, but there is a slide of the original card out there. This was the one that George made specific note of about its restoration when he did the pre-announcement back in July, and it's the final new one on this set. Quack Shot was released on October 30th, 1954, directed by McKimson and written by Phil DeLara. Elmer goes duck hunting, but Daffy's there to make it a very difficult experience. Now, this is the only writing credit for animator DeLara. He worked with Chuck Jones's unit before moving over to McKimson's in the late 40s. Now, this was in syndication, but I don't remember it being shown a lot in New York. It's been in the Boomerang rotation for the last number of years. This one's always looked pretty good. The restoration just brings out the colors. Anthony just did a review of this one as well a couple days ago, so take a look online for that. Next is... Road to Andalay came out on December 26, 1964, directed by Friz and Hawley Pratt and written by John Dunn. Sylvester gets himself a falcon to catch the fastest mouse in all of Mexico, and of course, things don't go as planned. This was actually the first official Daffy Freleng produced short, though Pancho's Hideaway came out before it. It was originally called Tequila Mockingbird, but was changed to spoof another book title, which may have caused the delay. This was among the last pairings of Sylvester and Speedy before Daffy would take over. This was on the Ride app previously. Once again, the 60s cartoons look good visually. It's the other stuff that tends to be lacking. The disc almost ends with two from the 30s. The Sneezing Weasel was released on March 12, 1938. Directed by Tex Avery, who voices the title character, and written by Cal Howard. A mother hen leaves her chicks just as a weasel comes by looking for dinner. But he has a little sneezing problem, giving him away. This was included as an extra on the Blu-ray for the Joan Crawford film, The Shining Hour, though it originally premiered with the movie Love, Honor, and Behave. Yeah, I missed both of those too. This is yet another one I hadn't seen until it popped up on MeTV. I mean, that's really become my new TBS. Very bright restoration for a 1930s cartoon, but what's with this? The final new short is Streamlined Greta Green from June 19, 1937, directed by Freleng and written by Howard. In a city of anthropomorphic autos, a young car decides he wants to brave the big city as a taxi. Now, oddly enough, Tex Avery did a similar short over at MGM One Cab Family, where a little cab wants out of the safe life of being a cab and wants to be a race car. Now, just so you know, Thad points this out in his review, but I had found this out already, so we're just trying to be definitive. I think this popped up on TBS once in a while. Looks like this was a little heavy on the DNR. Finally, we get two bonus shorts. As George laid out in the Extras podcast, a cartoon needs to have been either totally unreleased on home video or released in an unrestored form to qualify for the Collector's Choice series. That's why Rabbit Rampage on Volume 2 and Mouse Warming on this volume qualified. These two bonuses were restored, but were released in that matted widescreen form on the Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck Superstars disc. As we talked about, most of the Bugs Bunny shorts have been fixed on previous Blu-ray releases, with two exceptions, Apes of Wrath and Lighter Than Hare. We can now narrow that down to one with the latter's appearance here. So let's just take a look at the railway and tunnel scene again. This one is also back on Max. Apes of Wrath is still missing, so that will likely be high on the list of future bonus possibilities should they continue with this format. The other bonus is Stork Naked, which we did on the revamped episode 14. So let's take a look at a scene here. Someone mentioned that Dime to Retire might have been a better choice since there's no Porky shorts on this disc. I kind of agree, but they picked this one. There are still 5 more from Frustrated Fowl that need upgrades, plus quite a number from the original track listing of the Daffy Duck Superstars disc that still have to reach digital home video in any form. So Daffy still has some material that could be tapped before resorting to So in the character rundown, Daffy is the winner with 6, 1 with Elmer, his voice gets 2, and maybe 1 with Yosemite Sam. Sylvester gets 5, 2 with Tweety and 1 with Speedy. Bugs and Yosemite Sam have 2 together, though Sam may have 3. Foghorn, Leghorn, Henry Hawk, and Barnyard Dog have 2 as well. Roadrunner and Coyote, Goofy Gophers, and Ralph and Sam each get 1. Director-wise, Friz Freleng gets 13. Bob McKimson gets 5. Chuck Jones gets 4. Tex Avery has 2 full ones and the 1 finished by Bob Clampett. Finally, Norm McCabe and Art Davis get 1 each. It's interesting to note that the release in the series with 4 Bugs Bunny cartoons included, Volume 3 was a slow seller. Now, it's also interesting to see what that entailed. Volume 3 came out on March 12th, and Volume 4 was unofficially announced on July 30th, so it's a matter of 4.5 months. But things were so tight that if it had not become profitable in late June or early July, the entire series might have been canceled. So that's the window we're looking at, just a few weeks after release. In comparison, Volume 2 must have done very well. Volume 3 was announced in a little over a month. Maybe to aid the income from the Collector's Choice series overall, on November 26th, they also released Volumes 1 through 4 in one package for like $40. Some people were a little annoyed they did this after we spent full price for the other 3 volumes, but it is what it is. Think of it as a bargain version of 2 Platinum collections. Still not as good a bargain as the complete Platinum Collection DVD set, but this release would now be a key piece of the puzzle if I had to tell someone how to put together a Looney Tunes home video collection from scratch. Next will be the first installment of a segment I'll call So What's Left. We're going to use George's Parameters, a short that has not been on a specific Looney Tunes collection or one that had appeared on DVD but not restored. We'll do Bugs and Daffy today since we've already done their Superstars discs. We went over the Bugs that need a Blu-ray upgrade, but for the purposes of Collector's Choice series, we're down to the following 6 cartoons, and you'll notice a problem with each of them as we go through. All This in Rabbit Stew, Fresh Hair, A Lad in His Lamp, A Feather in His Hair, Which is Which, and Horsehair. Now of these, I think A Feather in His Hair, Lad in His Lamp, and Horsehair are less objectionable than the other 3. And Fresh Hair really just has the one scene at the end, so if you put the disclaimer either in front of the disc or even right before the cartoon itself, you might be able to get away with that. Those other 2, they're just not going to happen outside of a collection that strictly deals with these type of cartoons. Now with Daffy, for these purposes, I'll mention the ones up to 1964, pick out the few non-Speedy shorts from 1965, then give you just a number for the last ones. So the following cartoons could appear on a future Collector's Choice volume for Daffy Duck. The One More Black and White Daffy Duckaroo from 1942, Slightly Daffy from 1944, Ain't That Ducky from 1945, then we go all the way to 1957 for Boston Quacky. I'm still stunned this is out there, not restored yet. From 1958, Don't Ax Me. Then a bunch from 62 and 63, Quackadile Tears, Good News, and Fast Buck Duck. These last 2 were slotted for the original track list of Frustrated Fowl, but got axed. And Aqueduct from 1964. Then we still have one more solo Daffy from 1965, Tease for 2 with the Goofy Gophers. I'd say the first 3 are the least likely, but if I were to pick one of them, Ain't That Ducky has that just one shot in question, so that's maybe, again, with a disclaimer. So before we get to the DePatie Freleng, Daffy, and Speedies, we have 7 from the 50s and 60s still to choose from, leaving the problematic ones from the 40s out. Then of the 26 Daffy and Speedies, 24 have not been issued in digital home video, and only one of those has been restored, A Haunting We Will Go. All of these could honestly be on their own disc, separate from everything else. Now, at the prompting of loyal viewer Toon Clips Disney 1923, I'm going to put down my top 10 or so selections for the next disc, should the series continue as it is. Now, he listed a whole disc worth of stuff over on the announcement video in the comment section, so have a look at his selections there. I don't see them doing too many double dips to change it for, like, too much DNR and things like that, or doing anything that they've already released on Blu-ray, not for the purposes of collector's choice. But I do agree with a lot of his selections, so you'll see a few of them up next. The first one I go with is Lady Play Your Mandolin. We talked about this before. It's never officially shown up on a Looney Tunes collection. It's recently been restored and appears on the Blu-ray for the 1931 Oscar winner for Best Picture, Cimarron. It deserves a place on a Looney Tunes collection. Now for another one from the 30s, I'd go with A Day at the Zoo. It's a Tex Avery, and it has another appearance of the Egghead Elmer combo there. Next, I go with The Squawking Hawk from 1942, the debut of Henry Hawk, and the first Goofy Gophers from 1947, so that'll get you a Bugs 2. Now for a solo Bugs, if it's not Aladdin His Lamp, I'm going to go with Horsehair, since it also has Sam in it, and they've done these, like Saddle Silly, they did that, so maybe this has a chance. Each Don't I Crow has Elmer in it, though Goodnight Elmer would also work for these purposes. Now, Boston Quacky has to be on the next set already, so that will get you a Daffy and a Porky. For the cat and bird duo, a streetcar named Sylvester would be a good choice, though Foul Weather and a piece of Tweety Pie would also work. Plus, Dr. Jekyll will be good for a solo Sylvester. For Foghorn Leghorn, the Dixie Friar would complete the Pappy and Elvis duo. Zip and Snort would be a good one for Roadrunner and Coyote. And for a latter one-shot, I Was a Teenage Thumb has gotten a lot of notice in the past couple of years and showed up on Max when they put everything back up, so let's go with that. Now, there's still a lot of other choices. They could easily do another 4 volumes in this format. Now, as for the bonuses, Apes of Wrath is a must. Just get that Bugs Bunny one done. And Dime to Retire or Daffy's in Trouble would be good for the next disc. Now for an end-of-the-year special, we started adding the full release dates along the way to try to put these things in order. So now what we'll do here, as quickly as I can, is give you the full dates for the shorts on the last 3 Collector's Choice sets. And in fact, I'll do Volume 1 in alphabetical order. So, for Volume 1, Beanstalk Bunny was released February 12th, 1955. The Bedeviled Bruin, May 14th, 1949. Catch as Cats Can, December 6th, 1947. Crack Quack, July 5th, 1952. Daffy Doodles, April 6th, 1946. Doggone Cats, October 25th, 1947. Just found the original title card for this. The Foxy Duckling, August 23rd, 1947. A Fractured Leghorn, September 16th, 1950. Greedy for Tweety, September 29th, 1957. Hip Hip Hurry, December 6th, 1958. His Better Half, May 20th, 1950. Hot Rod and Reel, May 9th, 1959. Little Orphan Airedale, October 4th, 1947. A Mouse Divided, January 31st, 1953. Plop Goes the Weasel, August 22nd, 1953. Stooge for a Mouse, October 21st, 1950. Tale of Two Mice, June 10th, 1945. Two Gophers from Texas, January 17, 1948. The Unruly Hare, February 10th, 1945. And What's Brewin' Brewin', February 28th, 1948. And we go on to Volume 2. Behind the Meatball, April 7th, 1945. Brother Brad, July 15th, 1944. Catty Cornered, Halloween, October 31st, 1953. Cross Country Detours, March 16th, 1940. Daffy Southern Exposure, May 2nd, 1942. Ding Dog Daddy, December 5th, 1942. The Eager Beaver, July 13th, 1946. Fair and Warmer, September 28th, 1946. Finn and Caddy, October 23rd, 1943. From Hand to Mouth, August 5th, 1944. Found the title card for this one too. Ghost Wanted, August 10th, 1940. Greetings Bait, May 15th, 1943. Amateur Night, January 28th, 1939. Hairbreadth Hurry, June 8th, 1963. A Hick, a Slick, and a Chick, March 13th, 1948. Hiss and Make Up, September 11th, 1943. A Hound for Trouble, April 28th, 1951. I Want to Be a Sailor, September 25th, 1937. The Leghorn Bows of Midnight, May 6th, 1950. 18 years before. Lickety Splat, June 3rd, 1961. One Meat Brawl, January 18th, 1947. The Penguin Parade, April 23rd, 1938. Rabbit Rampage, June 11th, 1955. The Rebel Without Claws, July 15th, 1961, and The Wacky Worm, June 21st, 1941. Finally, Volume 3, A Feud There Was, September 24th, 1938. China Jones, February 14th, Happy Valentine's Day, 1959. Cinderella Meets Fella, July 23rd, 1938, another July 23rd. Boy, that was, 70 years before. Dumb Patrol, January 18th, 1964. Egghead Rise Again, July 17th, 1937. Elmer's Pet Rabbit, January 4th, 1941. Hobo Bobo, May 17th, 1947. Honeymoon Hotel, February 17th, 1934. Only a few days before, but anyway. Hop, Skip, and a Chump, January 3rd, 1942. I Only Have Eyes for You, February 27th, 1937. Mexican Joyride, November 29th, 1947. The Mouse on 57th Street, February 25th, 1961. Mr. and Mrs. Is the Name, January 19th, 1935. A Rising Hen, November 14th, 1953. Prehistoric Hare, November 1st, 1958. Punch Trunk, December 19th, 1953. Quentin Quayle, March 2nd, 1946. Riff Raffy Daffy, November 27th, 1948. Saddle Silly, November 8th, 1941. Sheep Ahoy, December 11th, 1954. The Sheepish Wolf, October 17th, 1942. There Ought to Be a Law, June 6th, 1953. Tugboat Granny, June 25th, 1956. War and Pieces, 11 years later, then There Ought to Be a Law, June 6th, 1964. And Wet Hair, January 20th, 1962. So looking back on the year, we had 2 more Collector's Choice volumes. We finished up the Blu-ray collections and focused a lot on Bugs and a little on Daffy, plus dealt with a hard drive crash. Then next summer, we're looking to do another multi-part series which should wrap up the Looney Tunes back catalog, plus we'll handle whatever Warner Archives releases come out along the way. There may be another episode, a little bit of a special, that will come up probably before Christmas, depending what I'm able to do in the next couple days, if I end up going to the movies. If not, thanks again for watching this year, and let's look forward to the next one. Next time is back to the Superstars series and our favorite rooster, the Barnyard Big Mouth Foghorn Leghorn. I'm John Hartford. Thanks for watching, and Merry Christmas.